Thank you very much, Cecile, and hello, everyone. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar of the CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 overview. It's my immense pleasure today to give you an overview of the brand new version of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, which the teams here at Corel have been hard at work developing over the last few years, actually. What I want to do before I jump into the product itself is just give you a quick overview about some of the things that are of interest and importance when it comes to CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, about you, our users, and then also a little bit more about how our areas of focus are, and then I'll jump in straight into the product. As Cecile mentioned, we'll do a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to ask all the questions as you go. I know the guys there are trying to answer as many as they can as we go, and then we'll go through a few of them at the end as well. But without further ado, let me jump into CorelDRAW Graphics Suite and give you a little overview here. Before I start into jumping down into the product itself, I just wanted to explain a little bit and just clarify a little bit who our users are today around the world of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. We have currently over 12 million active users of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite around the world. And there's really, if we summarize it to the maximum, two big categories of users that are either professional graphic designers, creative professionals, but also more in the production-oriented industries, such as the sign making, engraving, etc. CorelDRAW is actually the leading graphics application in those industries. We also have users in the fashion and garment decoration industries and fine artists and illustrators. On top of that, a large amount of our users are also what we call internally occasional graphics users, people who need a graphics software for less than 5 hours a week. They're in sales and marketing, in small businesses, in large organizations, and need a graphical software, professional graphics package that is easy to use in order to create their marketing collaterals. What is a very important part of our development process is to very well understand the user workflow, your workflow, and here's a summarized version of that workflow. It usually starts from what we call internally the ideation process, where you're going to start collecting the different elements that you need for your creation, for your project, from previous objects, from previous documents, from customer documents, content that you get from the web or from Corel, photos and prints and documents you have in your hard drive, or sometimes even start from a blank page and do everything from scratch there. You'll then do the design and the pre-production, sometimes in CorelDRAW, to then be able to output to any medium. Certain mediums such as direct-to-garment, such as embroidery, or even supporting wide format printers and cutters, we're making sure that these work fantastically well for you by working closely with some of our partners. For example, we're including the latest roll-in palettes, for example, in this release of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, so that you can print directly with the cut control line and those types of things. One of the things that drives us every day here at Corel is what you as users do with our products and create with our products. And here's just a few examples that I want to show to all of you of what some of you have been able to do with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. Here's an example of t-shirt printing and a logo and a graphic design for t-shirt printing and then printed through DTG. Another example of a small business and all the small business visual communication. The Facebook fan pages, very important these days. The business cards, still very important, and all the different flyers and brochures for the small business. An example of a vinyl and car wrapping, for example, here done by one of the CorelDRAW masters, Joe Diaz, and here's just an example of what you can do very effectively and how you can have some amazing piece of art printed on cars. And then also just a final example on when it comes to fine art and really high-end graphic that are done here, for example, by Lion King, a user of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite in Russia. These are just a few of the examples of what motivates us every day, of what you can do, and motivates us every day to bring you better products so that you can be even more productive, even more creative with the newer version. The other aspect that is very important for us is just to keep an eye on what's going in the industry and making sure that our offerings and our product software remains relevant and in sync with how software and technology evolves. And one of the big evolutions we've seen over the last 1 or 2 years is a move to a much more modern and digital design, if you want, clean and modern design. For example, Microsoft Office, you've seen the transition between Office 2010 and Office 2013 of a move to a much flatter and cleaner representation. It's not about revolutionizing and changing everything compared to previous versions, but much more taking away the clutter away, simplifying the UI, and making sure that you can get your job done without all the extra effects that don't add any value to your production. You can also see that, for example, on iOS and the evolution Apple has done on the iPhone, for example, with iOS 7, a much more modern and digital design, a lot less skeuomorphism in the creation of the design. So this is definitely what we've also been looking at, and really combining the needs and the understanding of our users with the direction overall where we want to go to make sure that CorelDRAW remains a very relevant product and also remains the best solution for you guys for the next 25 years. This year is the 25th birthday of CorelDRAW. We wanted to take the opportunity to refresh the application and all of its brand identity. And today I'm very excited to unveil the new version of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, version X7, with a brand new look and feel, and that you'll see throughout this presentation and within the product in a few minutes. Within CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, we continue to include everything you need for creations of 2D bitmap and vector graphics, talking about CorelDRAW for vector graphics and page layout. We support up to 999 pages documents, but with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, it's really been designed so that you can create all your vector illustration and then create flyers and brochures of 16 to 32 pages. We also have Corel PhotoPaint, our award-winning and professional photo editing application that is included in the suite, redesigned from the ground up to be the best possible photo editor for CorelDRAW users. We also include Corel PowerTrace. It's our bitmap to vector conversion engine that enables you to take a lower resolution bitmap, convert it into vector, and then have full control and power from CorelDRAW applied to it. PowerTrace is actually not a standalone application per se, but it's actually directly and fully integrated into CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. So if you go into CorelDRAW and you have a bitmap, you can very quickly click on a button, Trace Bitmap. Corel Connect is our application that enables you to find and choose the content you want to use in your designs, either on your local hard drive, on your local network, or the content from different online sources such as the ones from Corel, the one from Fotolia, Flickr, and iStock. Part of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, we also include Corel Website Creator, a web authoring environment that enables you through a WYSIWYG process to create websites. There is no prior HTML coding required, which is very important. We know many of the CorelDRAW users are not HTML developers and coders, and Website Creators enables you to create a website very easily through a drag and drop interface. Corel Capture enables you to do screen captures, and on top of that we're also including a font navigator to manage all the fonts you have in your system. Photo Zoom Pro, a new version of our bitmap upscaling application that we have from our partner Benvista, that enables you to take a low-resolution photo and upsample that into a high-resolution image. We also include the latest version of Microsoft Visual Basic applications and integration into Microsoft Visual Studio 2012 and 2013, so that you can really create customized projects, development, and automations with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. And as always, CorelDRAW Graphics Suite includes a lot of content available to everybody through Corel Connect, with over 10,000 clip arts, 2,000 high-resolution stock photos, 1,000 fonts, etc., etc. And the one thing I wanted to point out here is that out of the 5 hours of training video that are included with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, over 1 hour and a half of those are completely new for Graphics Suite X7, with a lot of insights into how to best use the product and to be the most productive and the most efficient with the product. Instead of going into every single feature here over a bullet point list, I'd rather show them to you and go into a much more visual way and representation of how those things are. So without further ado, instead of going through this long list of functionality, let me switch back into the application and show you CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, the new version of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. The first thing you will see when you launch the application is our brand new welcome screen. And the welcome screen will enable you that the first time you launch the application, you'll be asked what workspace you want to work with. The idea here is really to enable the application to tailor to your knowledge, to your needs, and to your expectations. So if you're a beginner, you can choose the light workspace, and very quickly the UI will actually change in a mode that is very simplified, so we'll take away some of the complexity, which you can always get back later. If you're upgrading from a previous version, you can choose what we call the classic workspace, which will look very similar to a CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6, so you'll feel at home and are productive immediately. If you're starting new with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, we recommend you start with the default workspace, except if you are a beginner and then the light might be better. The default workspace is still fairly similar to the previous generations of workspaces, but we took the opportunity to streamline some of the workflows, to recategorize some of the things, so some of the menus might have changed a little bit compared to the past. And then we have different specific workspaces, one for illustration and one for page layout. These are very different workflows that require very different tools, and by selecting those workspaces, you will actually be optimizing it directly. The tools are available for what you need in an optimized way. And finally, for those of you who are considering or are transitioning over from an Adobe Creative Suite or Adobe Illustrator product, you'll be able to switch to an Adobe Illustrator workspace, in which case the UI will look very familiar to you and most of the keyboard shortcuts will work as well. I mentioned earlier the training videos. Let me just open the video browser here, video tutorial browsers, and you'll see that here is a long list of all the tutorials we have. These are also all hosted on YouTube, so you can have a look at them on our YouTube channel. But for example, here is one of the training videos about the terminology between CorelDRAW Graphics Suite and Adobe Creative Suite, so that you can learn very quickly the right terms and the differences compared to CorelDRAW and compared to Adobe products. The other new thing that we're doing with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite is enabling our users to work with multiple documents in a way that wasn't possible before. So what we do now is I can either create a new document from my welcome screen from the file new, but I can also very quickly come here, click plus, and create a new document this way through our new document management tool here. If I am in a multi-monitor environment, I can actually drag this out of here. It will come in a separate window, and I can now move this window on a second monitor and work there very quickly. Or if I want to work side by side with my other document, I could, for example, just dock it here to the side and really have two documents side by side so that I can very quickly move from one to the other. This is just one of the examples on how our aim with this release is to streamline your workflow and enable you to be more productive throughout the interface with simplifications and tools that you have there. The other thing we're offering here in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite and in PhotoPaint is the capability of quickly customizing the UI for your needs. You'll see here this is our standard toolbar, but if I come on the plus button here, the quick customize button, I can actually choose to turn on or turn off some of the tools I don't need. So for example, I never really do shape editing. I can just click on this and you've seen it removed from our toolbox. I can remove the crop tools and they're gone. So you can really customize the UI very quickly and very easily. At any point in time, you can reset the toolbar to its original state so that you don't lose anything. And for those who are upgrading and want to use the default workspace but looking for some of them, check down here that we had in the past. Like for example, the outline flyout is available there at the bottom. And you can just turn it back on and it will be visible here. Depending on your monitor, it will be there. Same thing here on the property bar. I can quickly customize the features I want and I don't want. And also the Dockers are now available directly here, and all the Dockers for CorelDRAW are available in one place. So I can turn on very quickly some of the Dockers. Let me randomly pick a few like these. And then I can come into my Dockers on the side and have access directly to those. I mentioned earlier multi-monitor support, and you can see here an example of CorelDRAW being used on a 3-monitor setting. So really enabling you to use all the real estate and the functionality available in your computers, having multiple designs side by side, the Dockers on another screen, and really being able to go back and forth and leverage the whole space. With the price of a monitor falling very quickly these days, offering and getting a multi-monitor environment is something that provides huge productivity gains, and we want to make sure that with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite you can leverage those productivity gains. The other thing that we're doing with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite is make sure that we are ready for the next generation of devices, and especially with high resolution and high DPI monitors. At CES earlier this year, the 4K monitors got announced, but today it is very normal to find monitors with 200 dot per inch type resolution, a 1080p monitor on a 10, 11-inch notebook today, or a Surface tablet, for example. So CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 is now fully compatible with the latest and greatest when it comes to the Windows OS support of high DPI monitors. Here's, for example, a 1080p screen at high DPI monitor settings of 100%, normal setting. It gets very small, especially if you have a touchscreen for those. But if you move to 125% setting, you'll see that the buttons get larger. There's more touch space for your fingers to reach the touch targets. Same thing if I go to 150% resolution, so that if you're running on a Surface, for example, a Microsoft Surface, I can come in here. I can also pinch and zoom, drag, and draw with my fingers on the UI, or really reach the UI very easily and very quickly. So I'm sure I'm actually touching the right buttons without any doubt. One of the major redesign when it comes to an engine is the brand new fill engine and fill and patterns engine that we have included in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. This is really a major rework for us and a very important one, a long-standing request from our users around the fills, and having really full control over capabilities when it comes to fills. Just going to zoom in a little bit to show you some of the examples. This is just done with circles and fills, so there's no special graphic done behind it to do. For some of you might remember those types of devices, LPs. We also use here, for example, a simple fill to create this vinyl disc. So let me just go to the fill, and you can see the complexity of the fill, but it's basically a circle with a radial fill here done that way. If I come up to the other ones, you can see a candy bar done very quickly, or a cylinder effect done very quickly as well. To show you how powerful and how easy this new fill engine is, I'm just going to create a blank document and create just a very quick road sign here. We start with a square and take my fill and select here a rectangular fill. I now have directly access to the interactive fill tool here. It's not hidden somewhere in the toolbox. And I can take it, drag and drop it, and position it perfectly as I want it. Let's make it a little bit smaller, keep it with the control key, keep it constrained. And then I can come here, very quickly change the color, let's say to a yellow. So again, a few clicks to achieve something and very quickly done. I also have a lot more options here when it comes to the blend, transitions, and repeat and mirror, for example. If I take the repeat and mirror, I can now also change the smoothness and the algorithm used behind that, so you can really choose different effects on this. And you also have full control over what we call acceleration. So I can make it a full acceleration and then perhaps make it a 25% effect. And this gives me very quickly a road sign, for example, in this case. If I want to add a vignette effect on top of it, I can drag and drop, put another fill. Let's do a rectangular fill as well. But this time I'm going to take the white color and put full transparency on it. And you can see how quickly I've done a vignette effect here. A few other things I want to show you on the new vector fills, on the new fountain fills in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite is that we're now supporting a very long-standing request from our users. So if I take a radial fill and turn on the radial or the elliptical fill, we call it now elliptical, here's how it behaved in the past with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. If I pull this, it would very quickly here, let me just turn on something, I'll come back to that in a minute. It would actually not follow the curve of the ellipsis when you do the fill. It would only work if you're in a circle mode. But with the freescale and skew function here, you can see that the fill itself will now completely adjust to the shape. This also applies to rectangles, so I can do a rectangular fill here. Let me just take the rectangular fill. And again, if I don't turn this on and start stretching, you'll see the effect that is happening here. If I turn the freescale on, it will actually follow the scaling perfectly. I can then come back into my, my fill. And I'll have the opportunity here again to go to my interactive fill tool and get full control over my fill, change everything the way I want it in just a few clicks. The other thing that is new in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite when it comes to the fill tool is that we're enabling you to also, I'll come back to this graphic here for a second, to once you've created a fill that you really like, let me make this one perhaps green so you can see the difference here. I can come here and very quickly click on the Save button. It's going to save this one as new. Type in a text, a title, a name, green road sign, green warning, for example. And I have now the opportunity to share this with other CorelDRAW Graphics Suite users through the Corel Content Exchange. This is an online server that we host. So I'll just select a section here, for example, texture, and click OK. This is now getting packaged and uploaded to a Corel hosted server. And then I can come back here, and I can actually go and browse all the content provided by all the users who use CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. Here's, for example, one that I might want to use in the future. I can come here. I have the opportunity to favorite it, so I can actually quickly find it in the future. I can upvote, downvote. If I really like it, I'll give it an upvote so that it comes high in the list when somebody else searches for it. I'll put it in my favorites. And if I come back in my favorite list, you'll see that I've favorited a few. And I can actually see the ones I have. I can take this one and very quickly apply to that graphic in just one click. I have access also to my personal fills. So everything that I've created locally or that I've shared with the community is available here. A lot more in the fills I want to show you, but just a quick overview here at this stage. Let me show you one more thing when it comes to the fills here, and this time it's not about fountain fills, but it's about bitmap and vector fills. Let's start with the vector fills. It's always been somewhat complicated to create very quickly a new pattern for a vector fill. So what I'm going to do is just very quickly create a shape with two colors, and I'm using it in a very simple way. And now let's take this object and select New from Document. So I'm going to create a new vector pattern fill from my document. Just click on this button, drag and drop the areas I want to use for my fill. Once I'm happy, I'm just going to accept this, and here's my fill already created. I can now turn on mirroring up and down. I can also make it smaller. Let's say I want it at 1.25 centimeters. My document is in inches in this case, so CorelDRAW will do the math automatically for me. I don't need to do the calculation. And then I can also give it an angle, like a 30-degree angle, and here we go, we're ready to go. Again, here I can very quickly take it, share it, save it, and share it with the community. Everything you share with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite to the Content Exchange will be shared on the terms of the Creative Commons license so that other CorelDRAW users can use it in their designs, and you can use the one that others have shared. When it comes to bitmap fill, same thing. You can take here a bitmap, and I have the opportunity to create a new one from document. So let me just do here, for example, I want to take a part of the screenshot here. Just say OK. I'm going to create that as a bitmap image so I can use it in my fill. And then I have the option very quickly here to work on the seamlessness effect. If I want this to be a linear blend or a radial blend or a mixture of both, the luminance, the edge match, the brightness, the color, all these options can now be fine-tuned. And again, I can save it either for myself by not turning on the share with the Content Exchange or with the community so that everybody can benefit from that. A lot more when it comes to fills, but I want to show you a few other things in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, so I'm going to move to the next feature now. Another very important aspect when it comes to graphic design is to enable you to have speed and control over precision over the designs you do. And really what we've done here, just a few examples of what we've done, is to be able to very quickly line up different objects together in a very visual way, in a lot easier way. So if I take my align and distribute Docker, I can just click on one button here, and you can visually see how these align together and which is the reference object. I can also do the distribution, and you'll see in real time how quickly it goes and where it distributes together. So it gives you a lot more control here as well in all the options. So you can always hide the advanced options if you don't want them. But this is really a very powerful tool to go very quickly and make perfectly aligned and visually appealing designs with no effort. The other thing that we're adding in X7 is the capability of doing a lot more alignment and working with alignment guides. So I'm going to just choose some nice visible colors, red and green, for example. My margin is going to be green, and I want my margins to be 1/4 of an inch. Now I can take my object here, and if I start moving it, you'll see that I get these green lines here coming up, and this tells me that this is exactly 1/4 of an inch based on the ruler setting and the size of this document from the other part. If I had set a ratio of 1 to 100 or something like that on my document, it would automatically do the math correctly for me as well. So you can really be precise and prepare correctly. If you work on a 1-to-1 unit, for example, on very large format, you can do that as well with CorelDRAW. Talking about a feature that our sign makers and people who do vinyl cutting will certainly be happy to see is the capability of handling the contour lines in a much more dedicated and precise way. In the past, you had only the center line outline, so that it is a centered outline. That means if you wanted a 10 millimeter or a 5 millimeter outline, you actually had to do the math and multiply it. Now I can very quickly do the outline inside, outside, or centered, so that you can have full control. And if the black line here were your cut contour line, so that you can send it to the plotter, you would be certain that it prints outside of that or inside that area, just what you wanted from a design perspective. Again, here are a lot more tools to enable you to be very precise and have full control of your design very quickly. Really, again, the goal here for us is to enable you to be as productive as possible with CorelDRAW, so that you can get your jobs done and then be able to accept more jobs from your customers. When it comes to creativity, we also want to make sure that we're adding a lot of functionality and tools with this release. And the different ones we're adding here, one of the important ones that we see everywhere these days are QR codes. So if I come into my Objects, Insert QR Code, I will create a QR code. Initially, we're creating a simple black and white QR code like you can do everywhere. But what I can do now is start editing that, changing the shape, changing the size. I have even more advanced well pixel functionality, which I'm not going to go into the details. But I can also come and select that this time I want to do a fountain fill. And instead of using any fountain fill, I'm actually going to do this favorite that I saw earlier that I want to use definitely in my design. So I'm just going to apply this. And here we go. We have a QR code that is a lot more visually rich than what I had before in just a few clicks. In order to generate those QR codes, we're actually using an online server hosted by Corel, so that we make sure that those QR codes validate very well with all the latest generation of devices. So it's a feature that we can update on a regular basis. But more importantly with QR codes is that once you've created one, you want to make sure that it can be opened with any phone or device out there and readable by any phone or device. And you don't want to have to own every single Android, iPhone, Windows Phone, etc. device. What you can now do is come to Validate Barcode, and now you can drag and drop around. And this will actually take this as a screenshot and send it to a Corel server for validation. The validation process is going on right now. And in a few seconds, it's going to come back to you and tell you, is this one a valid QR code or not? I would expect this one to fail, but let's see if that works. Let's give it a few seconds. This one has failed. And what's very important when you do QR code is really have contrast, and that's the trick in QR codes. So let me just go and zoom in. This is, for example, the QR code we are actually using at Corel on the package, and it was done with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. And here we go. Validate this barcode. Just going to drag and drop here. There we go. Let it go. And I'll let it validate, and this will pass. This will work through and be recognizable. And for those on the WebEx right now who are trying to take the picture, it will work for you as well. I'm 100% confident with that. But this has helped us to really test it here and make sure if you make this balloon a millimeter bigger, it will fail the QR code validation. So we have done a lot of testing to make sure it works perfectly for you guys, so that you don't have production losses and you print something and at the end of the day it doesn't recognize on certain devices. Another of the new things we're doing, I'm just going to create a jiggly room here, a jiggly line here, is adding some additional shape tools and shape manipulation tools or curve manipulation tools. We've added smear, twirl, attract, and repel in X6, and I'll come back to those in a moment. But we're adding the smooth tool here. I can choose a radius. We have pressure sensitivity for those who are actually using a Wacom tablet, but then I can just come here and you can see the curve being smooth progressively more and more and more. So that enables me to take away some of the complexity, making the curve smoother. When you import a JPEG, an SVG file that you found on the internet, for example, they're usually having a huge amount of node counts, for example, and this enables you to smooth those very quickly without having to go into node editing mode. A lot more here, but just want to show you those few things in that case here. I'm just trying to stay on time. I still have so much I want to show you in the next half hour. Color styles. This is also something very important for our users. Color styles and styles overall is something that we introduced with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6. And with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, we've continued to enhance our color style offering and our color style functionality. So let me show you first very quickly what color styles mean. If I drag and drop this object and just move it into my style docker here, I will create new color styles or style palettes or harmonies, and I'll just say, okay, here are my 3 new harmonies. I can take this one here and come and edit and then very quickly recolor my object by just choosing one of the primary colors, change everything, let it go, and here is a completely new color for that car, for example. But more importantly than that is if you have if you prepared a document for a multi-page document for your customer, for example, and when you show the final draft, the customer comes back and tells you, the gray in the title here, I'd rather have it blue. Well, in the past you would have had to change every single page, but now you just select that color in the color style, come over the color, choose the right one, and here it has changed to blue. If I come back, you'll see that my QR code has changed as well. Everything that used that color has changed instantaneously. So it's a huge time saver and productivity savers for you guys. Now, one of the new things we're doing around color styles with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 is to make it even easier for you to create new color harmonies based on color theory. So I'm just going to create an empty style. I'm going to apply it with different color theories here. We have a little bit hints at the bottom. Let's just take a tetrad, and I'm going to pick this one, and now I can say, okay, my primary color is actually this blue here, and every other color in this color style is actually going to be matching and working well together so that visually they'll represent a very nice set of colors that you can use in your designs and really make sure that they're appealing visually for your graphical creations. Another engine that we spend a lot of time with X6 and we've continued to improve greatly with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 is our text and typography engine. One of the things that I'm not going to go into too much detail right now is Asian character support. Just want to highlight that quickly. Let me just take this and disable alignment guides. Here we go. Is when you take your text and the OpenType font that you have has support for those features, you'll be able to access Asian width, Asian forms, vertical metrics, horizontal Kana alternates, as well as doing the vertical alternates. So if you have an Asian font that has support for those functionalities, you'll be able to do and access those functionalities from within CorelDRAW. The other Docker that we're introducing, and we completely redesigned compared to the previous version, is our insert character Docker. If I just open it here, let's make that pad smaller, and I'm going to pick a font like Seago here, for example. I can now see the entire font and every single character stored in that font. But if I'm going to go to pick a specific one, I can choose a script. I'm just going to pick here this one, and let's close this, and I have then access to all those characters, and I can see also directly here all the stylistic sets or effects that are available on that character set, so I can really pick exactly the one I want for my text and my graphic. The other thing that we're introducing in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite when it comes to text and the typography engine is our font playground. We've seen a lot of our users actually, when they're trying to find the right font for a design, to create a new blank page and then start typing different fonts, copy, pasting, etc., etc. But you then lose control and context of your original design. And that's why we've created this font playground here. I'm just going to make it a little bit larger, where you can come and pick, obviously make it smaller or bigger depending on what you want. But I can come here, let's pick Gabriola as a font. On this one, for example, I'm going to pick, let's do an Arial Black just to show it quickly here. Any font that you have on your system. What you can then do is just come into here, select it, access all the stylistic sets, for example. Let's take, I like this one here, but I'd like another D, so let's do this. Let's do small caps here. And now I can just take this, copy it, take my text font, and click and paste. And there we go. My font is exactly the one I wanted to have in the end, and I've been able to create exactly the effect I wanted without destroying or having any risk in the graphic I was creating. So really a license to play with fonts, a license to experiment and having fun on the side in a safe environment while you do your designs. Part of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, we do include Corel PhotoPaint, our professional and award-winning photo editing application that includes everything you need to do professional photo editing. And we've continued to enhance that greatly with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. Let me just take this image here, this photo, and click on Edit Bitmap. For those from Canada, I'm sorry, I'm going to do something to the Parliament building. I shouldn't, but it's going to be a quick example of what you can do with CorelDRAW PhotoPaint. And Corel PhotoPaint, sorry. What I mentioned earlier is in CorelDRAW X7, we have these shape and curve editing tools, Smear, Twill, Attract, and Repel. And one of the questions we had is, why are they in CorelDRAW but not in PhotoPaint? These are plugins in PhotoPaint that you need to pay extra for in for PhotoPaint. And with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, we're actually adding those functionalities on the liquid here. So let me just zoom in a little bit into the Parliament building, and you'll see it better. But we have a new set of liquid tool here, for example, liquid twirl. Let's make it big enough, 100 should do the trick. And then you can start manipulating your pixels very easily. I have a liquid attract, for example, and I can get things to disappear in a wormhole, for example. So those types of things are now fully integrated and directly available in Corel PhotoPaint. For those who are using the paint functionality, we have a new paint brush selector, which enables you to very quickly preview the paintbrush and the style you're going to use. So you can see them here, have access to all that information. You also have real-time context while you design. If you press Alt or Control, it will give you a lot more control there. But what I want to show you here on Corel PhotoPaint is our new masking functionalities and how you can very quickly, for example, create a tilt-shift photography effect. So I'm going to take my planner mask, just making this a little bit bigger, rotating it. This is a new mask that we have in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, and just apply that. And now I can come into my effects, blur, and use the bokeh blur that is coming with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. I'm going to let it apply and say OK. And here is very quickly an example of a tilt-shift photography effect on this photo. Now the other thing we know is that quite often we are hearing this request, which initially was a little bit strange for me at least, of having this, what I call Instagram effect on your photo done. And your customers sometimes come and ask you to do an Instagram effect on the photo. And this is why we're including this time machine effect, where I can choose different periods in time with a little explanation, a historical explanation as well. But you can choose different effects in different periods in time. And once you're happy with the one you want, I'll come back to this one. I'll just click OK, and that effect has been applied. So basically, I was able to destroy a perfectly good photo and make it look very old. Let me close PhotoPaint now, and you can see that as soon as I close PhotoPaint, the image has been updated in CorelDRAW, so I can continue to work from there and really follow my workflow directly from that point. CorelDRAW Graphics Suite remains highly compatible with a lot of file formats. CorelDRAW is recognized, CorelDRAW Graphics Suite is recognized as the most compatible graphics software with over 100 import-export filters. We've worked very hard on supporting the latest version of Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, PDF, EPS, etc., and the list goes on, so that you can open any file that your customer give you and you can save it into the formats that they ask you to do. The one more thing I want to talk to you about today when it comes to the applications is actually new mobile applications that we are actually also announcing today and making available right now. There's two new mobile applications. These are companion applications for CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. One of them is called Designs on the right here. It is a Windows modern application, so Windows 8, this is now the latest versions for Windows 8.1. But it enables you on a tablet, for example, or a Windows 8 touchscreen device to browse for the content that you want to use in your designs, to be able to find the inspiration and then put them in your tray. And as soon as you come back to your desktop, that tray will have synchronized over Microsoft OneDrive. And at your desktop back, you come to Corel Connect directly. Start Connect. When you come back to Corel Connect, you will have that tray that has synchronized, and you can directly access that within CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. The other new mobile application, there it goes. The new mobile application that we're launching today and that we're announcing today, sorry, is Patterns. It's going to be an iPhone application for iOS 7, so working with iPhone and iPod touches. It's going to also work on iPads, compatible with iPads. Enables you to create the bitmap patterns or bitmap fills on the go. So if you see a texture, a wall, a picture that you'd like to be able to use for your as a pattern later on in your designs, you'll be able to take Patterns as an application and very quickly take a picture, create a seamless pattern, and save it. Either you share it through a PNG attachment in an email, share it on Facebook, or share it directly to the Content Exchange so that when you come back to your desktop with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite installed, it'll be in your shared collection on CorelDRAW. So really a very powerful tool. Both of those mobile applications are free to download, and patterns will work great as well for those who are not yet on CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. The only thing is that you'll need to share it per email or in a different medium through the camera roll if you create a pattern and won't have that full integration within CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. That concludes the overview of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite from a feature perspective I want to show to you today. But before we move over to the Q&A and answer the questions you have, I wanted to provide a little bit more information about the product, its availability, its compatibility from an operating system requirements. But first of all, one thing that is very important for Corel is that we are dedicated in providing you with choice, and especially the choice for you to purchase software that you want. We do continue and will continue for CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 to offer perpetual versions, as we've done forever, of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, either as a full version or as an upgrade version. X4, X5, or X6, you are eligible to purchase the upgrade of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, else the full version, if you're new to CorelDRAW, the full version is also available as a perpetual license if that's what you want. We're also offering you the choice to subscribe to CorelDRAW Graphics Suite either on a 30-day basis or 365-day basis. But from our perspective, it is your choice. It is for you to be able to decide which way you want to license the product, and that's why we're offering you the options one way or another to go the way you want. If you go to a yearly subscription, you will make a significant saving compared to a month-to-month option. That's another point there. If you purchase a perpetual license, part of the perpetual license you receive a standard membership, which gives you access to the latest updates, patches, and service packs. They will be included part of a standard membership, as with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6. But you also are going to be accessing all the content that I mentioned earlier are going to be available to you through our Content Exchange. So if you come into Corel Connect, you'll be able to see the Content Exchange as a source here. If I come into Clip Art, and for example, go into the Arts category, or let's pick another one, perhaps just back, and pick aviation. It's definitely a theme for me. So pick the aviation category, for example, here, and you'll see all the clip arts that have the S on it are available to standard members at no extra charge. So that's how you get your 10,000 clip arts and photos, etc. They're available there. The standard membership also gives you access to the sharing of the patterns with other users and accessing those from others, as well as the capability of downloading Corel Website Creator through your account on Corel.com. At that point, you have a choice, if you so wish to sign up for the premium membership, which has a yearly fee. That gives you everything from the standard membership plus exclusive content through the Content Exchange. We've licensed about, I believe, 70 fonts specifically for premium members from Monotype, so very high-end and exclusive fonts available there, as well as specific content available through the Content Exchange exclusively for premium members. The other thing that you'll get is early access to new features. So as we continue to develop CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, we will make some of the features available early to premium members ahead of making them generally available to everybody with a new major release. For example, the font playground I still have open here on the side was actually introduced to CorelDRAW premium members with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6.4 update. So everybody who has a premium membership and is on X6.4 already has this font playground, and now everybody else is getting a font playground as it is part of the X7 release. If you're a premium member, you will also get access to the next major releases. So as a new version is released, you'll be able to download that version at no extra cost. Everybody who is on a premium membership, who has signed up previously on a premium membership for CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6, is now able to download from their Corel account the update to X7 at no extra cost, as long as their membership is active. Premium memberships are also included for our maintenance customers and for those on a subscription, on a yearly subscription and monthly subscription. From a system requirements perspective, CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 requires a Windows 7 or Windows 8 8.1. We will no longer support Windows XP or Windows Vista with this release. It's a decision we took based on the fact that Microsoft is stopping the support of Windows XP next month, and also the fact that there are virtually no more Windows Vista customers for CorelDRAW out there or users out there. But from the rest of the functionality and the specs, you'll see that we remain very small in the system requirements. For those who decide to purchase a box and not get the download version, but don't have a DVD drive, for example, you'll still be able to get the physical box shipped to you, and then within the physical box you'll have a link to download your version that you can then install without the need of a DVD drive. Internet connection might be required for some features. I mentioned the QR codes earlier, and accessing to the online content as well. CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 will be officially announced on, or has been officially announced, sorry, earlier this morning on March 27th. The trial version, the 30-day trial version, is available as of right now at the URL corel.com/CorelDRAW, and the download version and subscription are available now. We will be starting to ship the products on April 7th. They're in production right now. So starting April 7th, the boxes will ship for those who purchase that from Corel or from your favorite channel partner. You'll be able to get it at that point. And this concludes the overview of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. I've skipped a lot of the new things we've done in this release, but really wanted to focus on a few of the highlights. CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 is a complete professional graphics suite that has everything you need to create amazing graphics, pieces of art, and visual communication. It has a new and modernized UI that enables you to customize the workspaces in order for you to be as productive as possible. Our goal, or one of our design goals, is that you have to spend as little time as possible in CorelDRAW in order to get your work done. It sounds a little crazy for a software vendor to say that, but really most of our users, if you're a pro, you're not paid by the hours of using CorelDRAW. You are paid by the project and by getting things done for your customers. If you're a casual user, you have other things to do, run your business, serve your customers, etc. And the less time you can spend in the product to achieve the results you want, the better you are. And this is why we really wanted the UI, the experience, to be as customizable as possible so that it adapts to your needs as much as possible and enables you to get the job done quickly. It has everything you need to do graphic design. It has also now, going forward, extensive new content coming from the community. We have a very powerful photo editing application built into the suite with a wealth of functionality, a website design software, training materials for all levels. We know that most of you learn on the go, and having access to all those training tools. The hint stalker, for example, is still there, so if I select the tool, you'll see the hint stalker change. I also have access to some hints videos here on the side that I can very quickly browse and learn about. My welcome screen has also a lot of training and tutorials. For example, here, need help, with links to the videos, links to the information, tips and tricks, tons of tips and tricks and information is also available there. And finally, CorelDRAW remains the market-leading graphics application when it comes to file compatibility, file format compatibility. And we continue to offer both 32-bit and 64-bit versions. If you're on a 64-bit system, we recommend you install the 64-bit version of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite so that we can leverage all the power of your system. But if you have some very old Photoshop plugins, for example, you might want to install the 32-bit version of PhotoPaint in order to be able to use those. We support the latest generations of screens and displays, including high-resolution monitors, multi-touch functionality, and everything that you can expect from a modern computer, so that as you decide to upgrade, CorelDRAW will be ready for you. That's it from my side. To give you a quick overview, I would love to spend another few hours going into a lot more of the functionality of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, but I'm going to go through some of the questions that are open at this stage and try to answer as many as possible. Sometimes I might ask the help from Tony to go through those. The first question is about somebody who has previously purchased a CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6 with a premium membership. You can go today to your Corel account. So you go to corel.com, click on sign in, and then you can go there to downloads for members and subscribers or something like that in your Corel account. And there you'll be able to get your CorelDRAW X7 serial number as well as the download today. It is available for you. You'll get another email or message in product shortly confirming that and giving you all the instructions as well. Just looking at the questions here. I'm getting a question here about Mac compatibility of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. CorelDRAW Graphics Suite is Windows software. We're compatible with Windows, not with a specific hardware manufacturer such as Apple, Sony, Dell, or HP, for example. We're really anything that can run Windows will be able to run CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. We actually do tests internally on running CorelDRAW Graphics Suite on either Bootcamp or Parallels. So as long as you can run Windows, it'll work great, or as good as it gets when you go through virtualization on a Macintosh. We have no plans at this stage of Mac OS native version, if that's more the request and the question that came through that. I actually recently posted a blog on the community site on CorelDRAW.com about that. Really, the fact is, in order to develop a Mac version, it would require basically a full cycle of development for the entire team, or more than that, in order to do a Mac version. So this is something we can, at this stage, have no plans in doing and have not announced any plans of doing. One other question I see here is about Font Navigator and if there's been any updates to Font Navigator. And it is a new build of Font Navigator, but there's no new features and functionality, so it's been tested to work great with CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, but there are no new functions or features in Font Navigator. The question about QR codes and if you can trace them and apply styles to it. QR codes are vector objects, so you can do whatever you want on those, apply styles. For example, my QR code I showed you earlier was actually using a color style, so that as I changed my color style, my color in the QR code changed as well. I would recommend at that point that you do validate the QR code, because that validation has happened with a specific color, but you can apply color styles and a lot more styles there. Back to the Mac question, any advice between Bootcamp and Parallels? I do recommend, or we do recommend, using Bootcamp if possible, because you get the full power of the device versus running through a virtualizing environment. But that's really up to you. For a casual user, for a parallel solution, a virtual machine solution, will work great. But if you're a professional user and really need this as a main tool for your job, I would recommend you consider running it through Bootcamp, i.e. running it natively on the machine versus without virtualization in between. Looking at the question list, one of the questions is about the solution from Wilcom. Wilcom is our partner when it comes to embroidery software solutions and is the leader in the embroidery software. Today, Corel announces the new version of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, version X7. I would have to defer to Wilcom to tell you if and when a new version of their software, I'm sure it's more a when than an if, but when a new version of their software will come out that supports CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. I do believe that we've done some tests, and that Wilcom, our partner, they were part of the testing in the beta program, and they have already done tests so that if you have a Wilcom E3 product, you should be able to use CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7 as well, side by side. There's a question about batching QR codes. I do not believe that you can do that today. You cannot do batches of QR codes, so they're done one by one at this stage. It's definitely something we'll make a note of as a potential for the future. Any other questions?
Yes, there is a question for me.
Okay.
Yes, I'm happy to answer. So, many questions about the training resources. So just would like you to know that if you go on corel.com/CorelDRAW on the Learning tab, or you can type corel.com/CorelDRAW-learning, you will have access to a whole bunch of training resources. So you have basically all the training videos, you have the hint videos, you have the webinars. We have monthly webinars, so you will have all the recorded sessions of the past webinars. You have video tutorials, you have written tutorials, you have insight from the experts, and you have some tips. So Most of these resources are localized in 10 languages. So I guess that to start with, I really would recommend to look at all the resources and perhaps go to X6 and X7 training videos, because they are also organized by level. So you have the first videos that are more for beginners, basics, and more you have more advanced videos. So that's to answer the learning resources question.
You always also have access to the CorelDRAW.com community site with forums. If you have any questions, it's a great place to ask questions. As I mentioned before, training videos are built into the product, so you have access to all of the training materials for 3 versions, X5, X6, and X7, with tons of new training videos about the new features in X7. I'll explain all the details there. So a lot of resources available for training for you out of the box and on Corel.com. Any other questions looking at the list here? Anything that we haven't been able to answer there? Any enhancements to vectorizing? Today we've continued to fine-tune our algorithms there. We haven't made any major enhancements to our PowerTrace engine in this release, but there's definitely been some fine-tuning. So give it a try and see for yourself. You can download the free trial, 30-day trial of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite from corel.com/CorelDRAW, where you can get the trial and try it for yourself to see the improvements we've done around that, if any, for you. Today, CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, I see a question about third-party plugins and solutions. We continue to include the full object model and the functionality to develop macros and solutions for CorelDRAW Graphics Suite, either through VBA, Visual Basic for Application, or VSTA, Visual Studio for Application. And I do believe that in most cases, the plugins that were developed for previous version will just work, especially for X6. There might be a few that needs a few tweaks here and there, but I know that quite a few of the plugin developers were part of our beta program and are either have already done, if needed, or are planning to update the most popular plugins going forward, so that you can really work with the latest version of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite quickly. From a pricing perspective, for an upgrade or for different options here, I would just recommend that you go to corel.com/CorelDRAW on your local country site. You'll be redirected to the site in your country to get the pricing, your local currency pricing, and the recommended price available there. There was a question about the webinar from today. We will be making a recording available shortly for that video. So the recording, at least we hope that the webinar recorded correctly. It's been recording so far, and we will be sharing the recording of this video shortly. It's going to be on corel.com/CorelDRAW-webinars. And we'll also post something in the CorelDRAW community, in the CorelDRAW blogs there. You'll see that shortly as well. I see that time's up, so I'll take one more question if there is, and then let me just look at the list here if there's anything that hasn't been answered yet. So the location for training on the net, I think the best place, let me just do it and use the power of CorelDRAW. Take this here. Here are the 2 URLs you'd like to have that I would recommend you keep an eye on. Sorry, I'm repeating the same one. The first one is our website, where you will have a link on that page to all the tutorials and training videos and training materials. There'll be a learning tab there. And the other one is our community site, CorelDRAW.com, where you can go and ask questions in the forums, see also some amazing pieces of art in the galleries, and a lot more. I have my own blog there, for example, if you want to keep up to date with what's going on in the world of CorelDRAW. Feel free to subscribe to that one, and a lot more information there. Any new features for laser engravers? The outlines that I mentioned earlier is definitely one. Tony, you want to add something to that question? No? But yes, there is a few new things for laser engravers. The outlines is definitely one. So have a look at that, and I'm sure you're going to be very happy with that. We're also adding some of the support for some of the required functionality there for you to be able to be more productive. So the productivity gain, the new UI will also help you get things done a lot faster. For last question here, and then we'll have to close the webinar. But the last question I'm going to answer, the question from a premium member of CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6, if we will be making available the disk. No, the X7 will be made available to you as a download only. You can always burn that and keep that. It's always going to be available through your Corel.com account to download later on as a premium member. You have access to all your previous downloads as long as your membership is there. So we'll keep a version there for you for future as well. But it's a download version. One side note on that, as I mentioned before, but just one of the things to note is that the physical disk actually will not include any of the content that we historically had. All that content and much more is available through Corel Connect in the Content Exchange. So there is no advantages per se on the physical disk versus the electronic version. Both will have exactly the same functionality and features from your perspective. The cost of premium membership, yes, absolutely. You can go into your help menu here and select About CorelDRAW Memberships. And I'm already a member right now, so I still have a few days to go. But you can go and click on Renew, or you can also get a free 15-day trial of the premium membership once you have purchased the box to try out the premium features and functionalities before. And then you'll find all the details here. It's about half the price of the upgrade if you want of an upgrade for CorelDRAW Graphics Suite. So 2 years, which is about the time we have between releases, comes about to the same price as upgrading from the premium membership, but you get all the extra benefits and advantages in between. I think that's it for today. Cecile, a final word from your side?
Yes, thank you very, very much, Gérard. Thank you very much, Tony, also. He's the one answering all the questions via GoToWebinar chat. So I think we answered many, many questions. Thank you, Gérard, for your demo, and thank you everyone around the world for your time and interest in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. If you'd like more information on CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7, or if you are simply interested in downloading a 30-day free trial, go to corel.com/CorelDRAW. You will find also all the pricing information for your country. For your information, in most of the countries around the globe, we haven't increased the pricing, so nice to know. We wish you all the best for the rest of the day. Goodbye, and hope to see you soon in our webinars. Bye-bye.